Hello everyone, I'm Sidhant. Today the chapter number 16, which is a module B of the legal. The chapter number 6 is the law relating to the securities and the modes of the charges, part 1. In this we will take mortgage. We will understand the basics of the mortgage and different types of the mortgage existed. Why mortgage is very much important as far as the banking industries are concerned, because whatever loan we are giving on the basis of securities of land and building, we do the mortgage. The mortgage is according to the Transfer of the Property Act. All the mortgage rules and the regulations are related to the Transfer of the Property Act of 1882. Yes. Next, we will see first understand how and why the mortgage is important. We will see the basics first, then we will move into the chapter. Okay, let's say one borrower came to the bank for the loan. This borrower has one building as its properties. So he will ask for a loan. The bank will ask for a security. So the borrower is ready to mortgage this building or the land to the bank and take the loan. Let's say he took loan of 1 crore of rupees and the building belongs to 1.25 crore of rupees. So what the bank will do? The bank will do first the mortgage, sign the mortgage deed. The mortgage deed are nothing but a contract. So in this mortgage deed, the bank will write that I am giving the loan of rupees this much, and if the person in future unable to repay the principal amount plus the interest, then I will take the ownership as well as the possession of the buildings as accordingly. So since there are many kinds of the mortgage deed, so in India what is most frequently used is the equitable mortgage. In the equitable mortgage, what we do actually, we take the paper of this building with us in our locker and we sign the mortgage deed accordingly. But there are also some mortgage we will see later on in this chapter. Now one important thing, the person who has the building, who is doing the mortgage, is a mortgager. This one is a mortgager and the bank is the mortgagee. And the amount is a mortgage money. And yes, when we sign the mortgage deed, what we are doing, we are creating an interest in the property. Creating an interest is nothing but simply you must understand that creating of interest is nothing but creating a right of sale. Whenever the word interest comes, let's say we are covering the securities because we are creating an interest in the property. So we are creating an interest means we are creating a right of sale to the property when the person unable to pay the loan amount what we have given to the person. Now one important thing is the accession to the mortgage property. What is accession means? Accession means simply addition. Let's say accession of mortgage property, whenever it says, let's say the bank has taken the land as a mortgage, then in the land in future, if the person make his house in the land, then that house is also comes under the mortgage, comes under the mortgage deed. That is the concept of accession to mortgage property. Now moving on to the different types of the mortgage. The first one is the simple mortgage. In the simple mortgage, what is the characteristics of the mortgage? The characteristics of the mortgage is that the building, the possession of the building as well as the ownership is with the borrower itself. What the borrower is giving, the borrower is just signing the contract, and in the contract it will be written that it's a simple mortgage and the possession and the ownership are with the borrower, are with the borrowers. But if the person is unable to pay, the bank can go to the court and file a case and can proceed to take the ownership and possession both from the borrowers. In the simple mortgage, simply that the possession and the ownerships are with the borrower, and only the mortgage deed is signed in which everything will be written on it. If the simple mortgage are registered somewhere in the sub-registrar office, then it is called a registered mortgage. That's the same. Simple mortgage, if registered, then it's called a registered mortgage. Here in simple words you can say that only the interest got transferred, but the property and the ownership are with the borrowers. The next types or classification of the mortgage is the mortgage by way of conditional sales. What does it mean? That in the conditional sale, a mortgage deed is signed in which it will be written that if the borrower is unable to repay the loan principal amount or the interest, then the transfer of the ownership as well as the possession will go to the bank. In the mortgage deed itself, it is written that since it's a mortgage by way of conditional sale, it means that let's say in the starting of the at the time of giving the loan, the bank will write that the owner is selling its property. It will be like I am saying just the language so that you could understand and resemblance with the things. So the bank will write that sale of the building happens and it will be completed if this is the condition, that if the person will not pay the amount, then the sale, which is a partial sale at the time of giving of the loans, will be completed only if the person is not able to repay the money. Then only the complete sale of the mortgaged property will be done. This is the type of the mortgage. The next is the usufructuary mortgage. In this mortgage, in the deed, it will be written that the possession is with the bank, the ownership will be with the person, but since the possession is with the bank will utilize all the things relates to the building. For example, if that building is went for the rent purposes, so the amount which we are getting, the amount as a rent that the person will receive, but after the mortgage deed, the rent will come to the bank because the bank has did the usufructuary mortgage. In the usufructuary mortgage, what we are doing, we are taking the possession and whatever since it is with us, the possession, whatever the rent or the amount will come as a income from that property, that will be the bank's that belongs to the banks. Okay, and how can you remember? There's a trick that usufructuary means use, that the bank are using. In simple, you can remember like that. Next, the next is English mortgage. In the conditional buy sell mortgage, what we are doing, at the time we are writing that sale will be completed only if the person will not pay the amount. But in the English mortgage, it's a reverse of the conditional sale. In that, the sale done at the time of giving loan, the complete sale is done at the time of the giving loan, and at last it will be written that the property will be transferred if the person will pay the whole amount, that is the mortgage money, which includes the principal plus interest. Then only the reverse sale will be done. Means at the time of giving of the loan, what banks do? Banks take the ownership of the ownership as well as the possession of the properties by completing the sale. And in the at the last paragraph of the mortgage deed, it will be written that if the person will repay all the money, then we will resell the property to the person itself. So that's the English mortgage. Now the most important, which is very frequent in Indian scenario, is the equitable mortgage. In equitable mortgage, or its other name is mortgage by deposit of title deed. Why this is very frequent or very common in the Indian banking scenario? Because it's very easy to recover loans from the equitable mortgage. In the equitable mortgage, what we are doing, we are depositing the title sale itself, and in the mortgage deed it will be written that since we have the title deed, and if the person is unable to pay, we are allowed to sell the properties. That will be written in the deed itself, in the contract itself. Now the next is anomalous mortgage. Since all this mortgage we have learnt, there are also some customized mortgage. Customized means what, let's say some conditions are put forwarded by the borrowers and some conditions are put forwarded by the bank. So combinedly they mutually they agreed on some common points and they create a separate mortgage deed, and all those conditions will be mentioned in the mortgage deed. That is called a anomalous mortgage. Now the most important rights that we are getting through the mortgage or by creating any security is the right to foreclosure or the right to sell. In the right to foreclosure, what we are doing, let's say in the right to foreclosure or the right to sell, let's say in the mortgage deed, in the mortgage deed itself, there will be no mention about selling of the property. The bank just did the mortgage in order to be secure, but in the mortgage there will be no mentioning about how we will sell the properties, and there is nothing is mentioned about the selling of the property. So in order to sell, if the banks want to sell the property and recover the loan, if the person cannot pay the amount because of any reasons, then how the sale can be proceeds? The bank has to take an order from the court. If when the person has to go to the court, a bank has to go to the court in order to recover them or sell the properties, when in the mortgage deed nothing is written about the selling of the property. And if in the mortgage deed the selling about something is written about selling of the property, then the bank did not go to any court. The bank can proceed with the what is written in the mortgage deed. The bank can proceed with the deed itself. But if nothing is written about the selling, how the selling will be done and all, then bank has to take the permission from the court, and when the court permits, when the court orders, then bank can sell the property and recover the loans, and whatever the extra amount remains with the bank can give it to the borrower after deducting all the charges from the according to the loans for the loans and the principal and the interests. Okay, the next, when there is no need of getting the court's order, because in the mortgage deed itself it will be written that how the sale proceeds will be done, and how the sale, and there is something written about the selling of the property, then how the bank can proceed. The bank first have to give the notice to the person, the borrowers, that you have, since you haven't paid the amount which is due to you, so we are proceeding with the selling of your properties and recovering the loans. So bank has to give the notice, and if after if there is no reply in 3 months of the time, then the bank can move on for the selling of the properties. Okay, that's it. I think I covered the important things. What you need is the practice of the question as much as you can. Even if you utilize the let's say when you are traveling to the bank, and when you utilizing even the 5 minutes of your lunch time, then it would be very beneficial for you, because it will give you an edge over others, and you will easily get the marks what you are aspiring for. Okay, that's it. Thank you.